This is Reed in Virginia. You're next on the program. Great to have you on Open Line Friday. Hi.
Well, thank you, Rush. I'm really honored.
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
I was calling. I'm a good student, so I have a cell phone. I will pause after every couple sentences so I can hear what you say, too. I was listening through the week, and one of the themes was Bob Dole and how we need to expand the Republican base and reach out to Hispanics and so forth and move to the middle. And, I share the same frustration that you do. And then the second issue that we've talked about a lot this week is the lack of energy, the lack of enthusiasm, and the lack of people really expressing conservative values. And I think a lot of people are missing another political group that we can bring into the party, which are the libertarians, which are just so much better aligned with us as far as our viewpoints than the Democrats.
Yeah, the problem with the libertarians is that Christie doesn't like them. He and Rand Paul, I haven't gotten into this, and I probably shouldn't admit this to you all, but that whole Rand Paul Christie thing just didn't interest me. I don't know why. It's just, like I said at the beginning of the program, I'm starting to, when I do my show prep, there's more and more I'm starting to throw away as, this is silly, this is stupid. I catch myself. This one, I actively decided to leave it alone because I didn't think that it was going to have a lot of legs. I didn't think that it was of a whole lot of substance. But basically, it's that Christie thinks that libertarians are really, and he's not alone, by the way, thinks that libertarians are a little unserious about foreign policy. In many ways, libertarians obviously would tend more to the Republican Party than the Democrats. But by virtue of polling data, you say reach out to libertarians. There aren't that many of them, given how many Democrats there are, Hispanics, other demographic groups. But this whole thing about grouping people bothers me. You're right. Bob Dole said that the GOP must broaden its outreach. Why don't the Democrats ever have to do that? Why is it always the onus of the Republicans? I really resent this. The assumption that we're the closed party, the assumption that we're the closed-minded party. It's the exact opposite. It's the Democrats who demand that their voters and believers think only one way and say only specific things and vote only one way. The Democrat Party doesn't allow anybody in that doesn't agree with them. This is really the Republican Party putting a straitjacket on itself, accepting the premise put forth by who, by the way? The media and the Democrats. I heard Bob Dole say that the GOP must broaden its outreach, and that's code lingo for we've got to do amnesty. I know what it is. But behind the code is the assumption that we can't win because Hispanics hate us. That may well be true, but it's not because they hate conservatism. And I don't think it may well be true. I think there's so many assumptions made that are nothing more than tricks, like the idea that it's the independents you have to get every election if you're going to win. I mean, that trick was so effective. The Democrats and the media consultants come up with this silly notion that 80% of the electorate is going to vote the way it votes every election, regardless. The great independents, the undecided, the 20%. That's who you have to get. Well, how does that end up happening? And more to the point, what ends up happening? The trick here is that the Democrat Party and the media, and I do believe it's a trick, have tricked the Republicans into running a campaign for the presidency aiming at 20% of the voters. How stupid is that? You see, the theory is that 40% of the voters are going to vote Democrat and 40% are going to vote Republican, and that's always going to be the case. It's never going to change. But there's 20% in there, the independents, who apparently vote Republican sometime and vote Democrat sometime. Well, the upshot of this is that the Republicans have stopped serving their base. They have stopped serving conservatism. And they're making this move that like the only votes that count are people that don't vote for them, i.e. Democrats, or this 20% block of independents. But the real brilliance of this trick is that every Republican presidential candidate ends up running a campaign aimed at 20% of the population. It doesn't stand a chance of winning. And then after doing that, Bob Dole and these other establishment types run around and they wring their hands that the Republican Party must broaden its outreach. It's never said about the Democrats. The Democrats never have to broaden their outreach. What, everybody loves them already? Everybody loves. I look at polling data, and I see Obama's approval numbers below 50% now. I see that every Obama issue is opposed by a majority of the American people, including Obamacare and amnesty. I'll tell you, it really offends me, this assumption that it's the Republicans who are close-minded, narrow-minded, bigoted, whatever else. And it's never said that the Democrats have to reach out. It's never said the Democrats have certain problems with certain voters. It's always said about the Republicans. And lo and behold, the Republican establishment just falls for it, hook, line, and sinker, and they start repeating this tripe that's put out there by Democrats and the media. So what I was telling you before we went to the break at the bottom of the hour, this story from Luis Gutierrez, that he knows 40 to 50 House Republicans, they're going to back amnesty. From everything I've been able to figure out, the idea that Republicans need to engage in outreach to the Hispanic community is settled. It's accepted. Even conservative media thinks they have to do this now. I'm talking about in Washington. That entire political and social culture is a closed culture, but the people that run that end up dominating everybody that lives and works there. And what happens is the end of this, the Republicans end up ignoring their base. The Republicans end up angering or taking their base for granted. And that's why they're losing elections. The Democrats have got them convinced that they're losing elections because they aren't able to get enough people that vote Democrat. It's the most. So when you say to me, we need to reach out to libertarians, we just have to get back to what we do best, and that is making the case for all people what it is to be an American. Pure and simple. It's not that hard. Conservatism works when it is tried, particularly in national campaigns. Yes, sir, Bob, we're back. El Rushmore on the cutting edge of societal evolution. I'm not trying to insult you libertarians. I'm just tired of groupifying everybody, folks. I'm just worn out with it. I think it's a trick. I think it's a penalty. It is. That's what the Democrats do. The Democrats are the party. They are a coalition of little group here, little group there, little group there. These groups have one or two things in common, and that's it. The two things they have in common, they all hate conservatives or Republicans, and they all believe government ought to make everything right that they think is wrong. But not all people in the global warming movement are pro-choice, for example, and not all the pro-choicers are into unions or what. But every Democrat constituency group has at least two things in common. They hate us. They despise opposition. That's why they created political correctness, speech censorship. They hate opposition, and they'll do anything they can to eliminate it. That's how you get a mayor who won't let you eat what you want to eat because he thinks you don't have the sense to make the right kind of decisions about your diet, for crying out loud. or about the car you drive. To me, there's nothing about that party I want to emulate. There's nothing about the Democrat Party I want to be like. There's nothing they do that I want to copycat. And especially, I don't want to end up looking at people in this country as members of groups and then as victims. And so reaching out to libertarians, reaching out to the Hispanics leaves me cold. We don't have to. We have a political message that is timeless and speaks to the heart and mind of everybody who can be made to hear it. And it is the language of the founding of this country. It is rooted in the notion of creation by God. The natural state of that creation is the yearning to be free and the understanding that those natural rights of freedom come from our Creator, from our God, from your higher power, whatever you want to call it. They do not come from Barack Obama or Ted Kennedy or Woodrow Wilson or Fidel Castro or any other despot. They don't come from a government. They are the way we are made. Every one of us around the world. That's what's been exceptional about this country. This country was founded with the understanding of what people really are, who people really are, and what really is important about humanity. And that's the blessing. The Democrat Party exists to snuff all that out. We don't have to reach out to Hispanics, reach out to this group or that group. The Republican Party might, but we conservatives don't. The Republican Party can fix itself and start winning elections every time, or most of the time, if they'll just stop all this fear and panic and become conservative.